And I said, in my dream, obviously, to be a series regular. And within 2 weeks of signing my reps, I got my series regular audition. I would never have thought in a year I would be able to accomplish that after being stuck. I now have the LA rep I've been dreaming of since I was like 7. I was down to 2, and the one that I finally picked, I'm in love with, which is NTA Talent Agency. Justine Hunt is my agent. She's amazing. She was a
Nice.
manager for like 25 years. So she's super well connected, understands everything. When I made my agent hit list of things I wanted supportive. I wanted someone who understood me, someone who was driven, someone who I could easily text or email and I wasn't stressed about it. And she was like, "Do you have my number? Text if you need something." So I was like, "Oh my God, it's really happening. Like, it can't be this easy. It doesn't have to be stressful. Who knew?"
I know. Is that something, that list that you kind of developed about like what you were looking for in your agent? Is that something that you and your coach worked on together?
Yes, Farah and I worked on it together. She was like, "List out your entire dream agent." And I was just like, "Okay, is that even a possibility?" And she's like, "Think about your top things. Someone who communicates well, someone who understands that I am Black and Native American, and that obviously there are certain roles that I wouldn't want to play because it's like maybe a little touchy, and
Mm.
certain things that I'm not comfortable with as far as nudity." And she was like, "These are huge, important things, and you can't just breeze over it." And I had those conversations with her, and Justine was more than understanding. I was like, "Of course, no big deal. What are you talking about?" I told her that during the pandemic, I actually started writing a screenplay, which I'm trying to finish up now. And I asked her if she was open to pitching it in the future. And she said, "Of course, send it over. I would love to read it." And I was just like, this is how it's supposed to be.
That's amazing. Doesn't it feel so good when you finally have reps that understand you and get you and are on your side?
Yes, it's so empowering.
What do you think helped you the most when it came time to prepare for these meetings with the agents?
Farah, 100%. I
Yeah.
did an entire prep call with her. I quickly responded to her and I was like, "I need you. We need to do an hour. We need to do a drill. I need to do a mock interview. How do I tell my story without just reading my resume?" And so she gave me an example with herself telling about herself. And then she's like, "Okay, you go." And so I gave her the example of like, growing up, I moved around a lot and my parents divorced when I was 3. And so I was used to always kind of being in different settings and different groups. And as a result, I would do different accents. Like I have family that's near and far, and horseback riding was one main summer thing I did with my dad versus with my mom's family. It was like going to Arkansas and like doing all the little fun cooking things. So it was like a variety of color and range. And she's like, "That says so much more about you than just checking off the boxes on your resume." And that really hit home because I never thought about it like that.
That's awesome. I'm sure you went into your agent interviews just like more confidence, like knowing like this is what I'm offering.
Yes, because like in a way, you're so pumped and this is what you always wanted, but part of you still has that little bit of like actor imposter syndrome of like, why am I important enough? How do I, and then you're like, no, you're important enough because you are important enough and because you've been doing this and you're prepared and you want this. That's why. So it just felt so much more empowering. I'm so thankful for Farah. Like, she was amazing throughout the entire process. Every time I needed her, she was there. We did so many different drills, even prep emails, researching different people, seeing if they were something I wanted that they had done. Like, one person was on Sex Lives of College Girls, which is like one of my target shows, and just like feeding that into my callback follow up emails, like, "Hey, I saw you rep this person and they did this. That's a type of role I would love to play someday." Just little nuances.
Yeah, and that kind of it gives you a seat of power too, where we're not just like, oh, just any rep, please rep me. It's like, well,
Literally.
why? Why do I want you to be on my team?
Correct. And what role are you going to play? What role should they be pitching you for? You should know that. And so many actors I notice don't. And that's a part of this.
That's amazing. And what would you contribute if you had to pick like one thing
Mm.
that you and Farah did that really kind of helped you get to those goals?
I would definitely say consistency and just having her to like bounce ideas off of. Because so many
Mm.
times conversations would be like me being like, "Okay, this is the one problem I'm having. Can you help me write this out?" And then I would go, "Okay, can you give me examples of what's worked for you or just any life advice?" And then as she would say stuff, I would be able to pull out something and be like, "Oh, actually, I have a question about this." And then it would help me get the ball rolling. And then when we were done, I had like my marching orders for the next like month and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you guys meet up again the next month. You're like, okay, cool.
Yes.
How's the progress? Like, where can we go from here?
Yes, and I could tell every time it was funny because she'd be like, "Okay, so what have you accomplished this month?" And I was like, "Actually, check, 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 check." And she's like, "Oh my God, I knew you would
That's
do it." Oh my
amazing.
God.
We love to see that when people are actually like taking the things and going out there and doing them, because then all of a sudden you see this amazing feedback and results and you're like, is that all it took?
Is that all it took? Just following the freaking direction?
And I know you're kind of gearing up the end of your year one with us in the elite program.
Yeah.
What was your main goal when you had started the elite program? I know you said it was reps for in
Yeah.
LA.
So ironically, it was reps in LA. And I said, in my dream, obviously, to be series regular. And within 2 weeks of signing my reps, I got my series regular audition. So I'm like, the elite program really shifts your mindset and it helps you focus so much. And then I would never have thought in a year I would be able to accomplish that after being stuck for a year and a half, you know?
How do you feel like you're different today because of Career Activate?
I feel so much more confident. And when I started this, I definitely would feel like my mindset was off. I was feeling a
Mm.
little defeated because I moved back here after the pandemic because I lost my job like most people. And then I came back here because I had connections and I was kind of just hoping for the best, but also feeling very negative because a lot of people are like, oh, wow, you're moving back home, you're giving up. Oh, wow, you're moving back home. Like, so you're not as good as you thought you were, kind of thing. And it was very hurtful because it's not something you're expecting to hear, especially when you've just been kind of like in your own lane trying to get from point A to point B. So to actually be here and then make crazy strides, I have better reps than I did before. I now have the LA rep I've been dreaming of since I was like 7. And the sky is the limit. And I didn't let that hold me back. And part of that was this program and seeing so many people post in the community winning and doing well and being like, okay, if it's happening for them, it can happen for me. And if I just keep the faith and I keep my head down and I do the work, it'll pay off. And it did. So it's like, that's what I would say to anyone. Just cancel the noise as hard as it is, back it out and just focus on what you want and what you're trying to do and just be a good person and the rest of it will work itself out.
I love that. And I mean, it's so crazy how like mindset is such a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And Career Activate gives you those goals, those tools to just develop
Yes.
that mindset. Yeah, it's huge.
And I would say masterminds helped a lot with that too, because even just having the coaches pop in and being able to ask each person their specialty, being able to bounce off of each other and do a little brainstorming with the groups, like just that interaction really does help uplift you and remind you, like, okay, there's other people that think like this and want to do this too. Like, you're not crazy. You're just part of a different type of group that's not a typical 9 to 5.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like I always tell everyone the masterminds are like your battery recharge, where you're like, with my community. Okay, good. Let's go back, hit the ground grinding.
Yes. Okay, I can do all this stuff. I got this. I can crush this, you know?
Well, so now that you've had all this great success, if you could speak to an actor who is struggling right now in their career, what's a single piece of advice you could give them?
I would definitely say have faith. Take the step that you need to start the program because you'll have all the right tools and support. And even if you just do it for a year, learn as much as you can, ask all the questions, chart out your 4-year plan with your coach and make it count. That would be the best bet because you'll come out so much stronger and better.
Well, what's your Instagram handle? So if anyone here wants to connect and follow your success.
It's actually really fun. It's Stars in Her Eyes X3. I was really big into astronomy, so I made it that instead of my name. It's Stars in Her Eyes.
I love it because you are going to be the star. We're like, stars in her eyes. She knew it. She saw it coming. Well, Keri, thank you so much. It was so great talking to you. And I can't wait to see where you go next. Sky's the limit, girl.
Thank you so much, Sam. It was a pleasure. I am so thankful for this.